All right, folks, it is August 28th, 2025, and we're here to remind everybody that the XRP breakout is near. As we wrap up this month of August, it's been a month of consolidation, chop, a little bit of bleeding out, definitely some volatility that has some folks shaken up. We want to take this opportunity to remind everybody, though, that this is very typical. We see these moments in these bull cycles every single time. And it's right before you get a massive breakout into an alt season that is dominated by other cryptos other than Bitcoin, other than Ethereum, assets like XRP, and we're going to talk about a few other opportunities out here as well. As always, we're here to bring you guys the current events, financial markets, and how to take advantage of the greatest transfer of wealth in world history. In the update earlier today, we talked about how big this is going to be, actually quantifying this transfer of wealth. I have kind of pulled back from calling it the greatest transfer of wealth in world history because it's so cliche and so many people use it. It's almost an overused term. And I feel like a lot of people misuse it. They just pull it out and throw it around without actually quantifying it. And at the end of the day, what we're here to do is make our bet on which ledgers are going to see the most amount of value tokenized on them. And then even more importantly, where we're going to see liquidity and volume flowing. That's what drives demand for the neutral native asset of the ledger and also burns the native assets of these ledgers, making them more scarce, causing supply shock. And we're going to talk about how many ETFs we have going live here. This next ETF wave coming in October is going to be massive for XRP Solana. And I think that many other altcoins are actually going to follow along, even though they might not have ETFs going live in October. I still think that you're going to see assets like XLM, HBAR, and others run up and be holding on to the coattails of XRP. And so that's an opportunity that we'll be taking advantage of as well. Without further ado, though, we want to get right on into it. Everything is at my website, zachrector.com. I just want to take this moment to say thank you for those of you that support our cause by either liking this stream, sharing it out far and wide, going to the website to get some XRP family merch. We have all of our community resources, exchanges, wallets, precious metals. I haven't been paying attention too closely to silver, and I got an update for you guys on silver that you guys are going to like. But we really do appreciate it. No matter how you're supporting our show, our cause, we thank you, and we could not do it without your support. I want to take tonight an opportunity to get through a lot of Q&A as well. So I don't have too big of a show lined up. I should be able to move through it pretty quickly, and then we'll get to your guys' comments and questions. Really do appreciate your support. Without further ado, let's rock and roll. So this is QE Infinity noting a data point that we showed you guys just a couple weeks ago, how the 90-day delinquency rate on almost everything is back near the great financial crisis. This is that liquidity crisis that we've been talking about. With rates being held higher for longer, Main Street bleeds out. Small businesses, for folks that are trying to pay down credit cards, get a new car, and now the kicker here is the student loan debt. The credit card and student debt are the most concerning. The mortgage numbers are fake due to loan modifications. It's fraud, basically. And this is a comment from QE Infinity. And we're going to talk about mortgage fraud in the next clip here. But if the mortgage delinquencies were real, they'd be near the great financial crisis highs, is what he says right here. So this is a percentage of balance that's 90 plus days delinquent. We haven't seen these levels since the great financial crisis. And so as we keep on bringing it back to this separation between Main Street and Wall Street is only going to continue, expand, and be exacerbated by what the Fed, the only options really that the Fed now has at this point. Now, furthermore, when you look into real estate a little bit closer, pending home sales, I mean, they've just fallen off a cliff. We have not been at levels this low since the depths of 2020. And really, that was an artificial little simulation event right there, right? But we have not seen pending home sales and volume in real estate this low for quite some time. In fact, I was just having a one-on-one call with somebody that actually lives nearby me, and they're a real estate agent. They said that we haven't seen this much inventory in our local market where I'm at for basically 11 years. We haven't seen this level of inventory for 11 years. Okay, now my area is still growing somewhat, struggling. It really is. But there's definitely not that level of demand. And I was just driving around my community, driving around the county again today, I should say. And I'm just witnessing the same things where it's basically there's a few developments going up that are cookie cutter small 3-bedroom homes that are still going for 500 and 600,000, by the way. I mean, these are houses that you cough on them and they'd probably fall over. And you could reach out your window and shake your neighbor's hand. So, I mean, we're at a point now where the new inventory that's being brought online, not only is it expensive, it's also crap. That's what it is. And then you have the coffin apartments and the multifamily complexes being built out right now as well, too, which is only bringing down the levels. We're in a market really that doesn't cash flow that well. But now we have an influx of all these basically apartment complexes and townhome communities as well, too, that are really flooding. Like the real estate agent said, we haven't seen this level of inventory in 11 years. You guys might be seeing something similar in your market. And I lead with these data points on real estate and credit card delinquencies just to show you guys where we're at in this broader liquidity cycle, right? And the point being is the Fed, whether they cut rates or not, the bond market's in control. So are we going to get any relief on mortgage rates? I don't see it coming anytime soon, to be honest with you guys, because the bond market's been holding up a big middle finger to the Fed and Jerome Powell for the past couple years, right? And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and President Trump, Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, they're trying to do everything that they can to get these rates back down, but they can only do so much, and they have a lot. They were front-loaded by Secretary Janet Notel and Yellen with over 7 to 10 trillion of short-term treasuries that they have to find buyers for. Thankfully, they have the Genius Act, the stablecoin legislation passed, and now they can unlock at least 2 to 3 trillion of demand for T-bills just with the stablecoins, and I think that they're being conservative with that. So, debt, currency, liquidity crisis, we've been talking about this for 4 years. It's only gotten worse, right? And the good thing is that our community saw it, we prepared for it, we took action, and we invested in assets that are just set to appreciate even more than they already have. But we have silver hitting its highest closing price in almost 14 years. That's a $39 silver, $39.64 is what we're looking at. So just shy of $40 for one of these coins. All of my silver was accumulated under $30 per ounce. I didn't get in a long time ago. I only started buying a few years ago, and it's a small percentage of my portfolio. But I'm glad that we've made the allocation because, I mean, the silver and gold have just been doing what they're meant to do. As a defensive measure in our portfolio, they're holding up against inflation. But up until now, the S&P 500 just hit a new all-time high today. But yet gold has still been outperforming the S&P 500 by nearly double. So as I've been saying, our defensive measures in our portfolio have been outperforming Wall Street's offensive measures. Now, our offensive measures like crypto, the little bit more risky bets, have been destroying all other investment opportunities. Unless you're in private equity or, your own business dealings, you're not getting returns like you're seeing in our utility assets like XRP, XLM, HBAR, and others that have just ran away with returns since the election. It's just not even close. And so, like I said, considering how bad the situation is, thank God our community's taken action. Not only do you guys listen to me, but you follow up. And that's what we're here to do, is to inform you, educate you, make you aware of different opportunities, and then it's up to you to take the action. Once again, I'm not going to give you financial advice or tell you what to buy or when to buy ever. Never do that. Other than maybe pestering my brothers or a few of my friends about buying XRP, I've never really told anybody to buy XRP. I've just said, hey guys, here's why I'm buying a lot of XRP. Here's why my portfolio's over 90% XRP. And it's funny because I titled tonight's episode XRP Breakout Near, even though we already had a massive breakout, up 500% since the election. That move in and of itself was life-changing for many of our community. The next breakout, though, to another new all-time high and what looks to be a $7 to $8 target coming in by October when the ETFs go live, that's life-changing in and of itself. But then the generational wealth move to double digits and beyond, it's just coded. It's just simple math based off of historical data, conservative assumptions. What we're going to see come in after these ETFs, it's very simple. It will be taking us to double-digit prices. And in fact, I think I'm just going to have to revisit in another video the math, the $100 XRP math, because a lot of people are pulling numbers out of their you-know-what. Oh, XRP is going to, Riddler say 589. I agree. $1,000, $10,000, right? People say it's going to $27,000 by the time the ISO rolls out July 17th or whatever the date was, right? Crazy stuff. What I like to do is actually quantify it, right? What's it going to take in regards to inflows to see a $100 XRP, right? And so we're going to be revisiting the math here on the multiplier because we have even more data on it right now. In fact, I was doing a deep dive on Crow, and I've got it mapped out on what my targets are. I'm about to share those with the Discord group. But, I'm looking at these projects and the run, that they're set to have here. And I was looking at Crow with all the activity that's happened recently, and I was looking at the multiplier on that one. And I literally tracked a couple days here where the multiplier was 1,192. On November 10th, 807,000 of inflows into CRO equated to 962 million in market cap growth. That's a multiplier that's almost 1,200x. The market cap bros are still trying to wrap their heads around this, and we've just shown them. Hard data, it's simple math. You don't have to be a whiz kid. On January 2nd, we had 540,000 of inflows into Crow. The market cap grew by 141 million. That's a 261x multiplier. So even on a day where the multiplier wasn't that big, it wasn't over 1,000, it was still 200. Now, mind you, if you plug into AI and ask what the multiplier might be on XRP or some of these assets, it's going to tell you the conservative multipliers 10, 15x. And that's quote unquote reasonable. Even though we've been tracking it on the data, especially for XRP, and it's been a lot higher than 10 to 15x. I have another date right here. This will blow your socks off. July 8th, just last month, 379,000 of inflows into Crow. Once again, if one whale decides to buy a bag of Crow, they themselves could throw $400,000 at Crow. This is nothing. This is peanuts. I mean, goodness gracious. Our community alone could throw a few million at this, at any token if we wanted to, right? 379,000 in inflows, just nothing. 595 million in market cap growth. That's a multiplier of 1,569. Once again, hard data, simple math. Nothing, no clickbait, no hopium, just delivering data. And what's interesting here is I'm looking at Crow. It really hasn't even had that big of inflows, right? I did not track one day where there was over $1 million of inflows into Crow. In fact, some of the most recent days here where Crow was pumping, there was actually more outflows than there were inflows. The reason why that phenomenon happens is because the buyers are aggressively bidding up the order book, but sellers are waiting to take their profit along the way. So from a net standpoint, more money's actually pulled out, but because the buy side was so aggressively bidding it up, you still see price increase, even though there's actually more outflows than there are inflows. It's an interesting phenomenon. We've seen it on other cryptos as well too, as we study this multiplier. But the multiplier for me has been the big unlock. And the only problem that I'm having in doing my research and deep dive on these different coins and what levels could they go to, when I go to look at the multiplier on some of these coins, if they don't have good data on CoinGlass, which is where I'm, that's where they aggregate all this data, put it together as far as all the inflows and outflows from all the various exchanges. But if you go to look at a coin like SHX or a smaller coin like even XCN, I wasn't able to go look at the multiplier for these coins because they're not on tier 1 exchanges that are tracking this data, right? They're traded on DEXs, they're traded on a bunch of tier 2 exchanges, And so that data from an inflow perspective is just not being tracked and aggregated anywhere. So the multiplier, the limitation that I'm finding right now is that I can only actually calculate and do the equation on coins that are reporting this data on, most of them have to be on tier 1 exchanges, etc. But I'm looking at the multiplier. I'm looking at how many tokens. The big thing that I see for Crow is the token unlocks. It's pretty brutal. It's like 1% inflation every single month. Annualized, it's like 14% inflation on Crow between now and 2030. So it's like 33.5 billion in circulation, and eventually it's supposed to go above 70 billion, I think maybe even 90 billion total. So it more than doubles. Might even triple up, I think. I have to go back, but I'm gonna drop exit targets and a full review of Crow for the Discord community. Now, let's continue on here. I told you we were going to talk about mortgage fraud. 3 strikes and you're out. This is the U.S. Director of Federal Housing, Bill Pulte. Today, the U.S. Federal Housing sent a second criminal referral in the matter of Lisa Cook, that's the Fed governor, right? Related to a mortgage on a third property in alleged misrepresentations about her properties to the United States government during her time as governor of the Federal Reserve. So apparently, she took out a mortgage, 15-year mortgage for a condominium in Cambridge, Massachusetts, representing it as her second home. Only 8 months later, in 2021, Cook signed an ethics form with the U.S. government that this property was an investment rental property. In subsequent filings from 2022 to 2025, Cook consistently listed this property as an investment rental property, not a second home. Representing the property as a second home may have allowed Cook to secure a lower second home mortgage down payment and rates, as investment properties typically carry higher down payments and higher rates due to increased risks. Additionally, Cook allegedly misrepresented her Atlanta, Georgia property from 2022 to 2025 to the U.S. government as her residence, despite evidence suggesting it was being rented out to tenants. Similarly, Cook declared in a 2025 government filing that her Ann Arbor, Michigan property was her personal residence. However, we have reason to believe that as of 2025, the Ann Arbor property is being used as a rental property, not a personal residence. These inconsistencies appear Cook made multiple false representations, including to the U.S. government, regarding the status of her mortgages and property. So it's not just on one, not just on two. We got her for 3. 3 strikes, you're out. President Trump has fired her. Now we got a court battle underway. And really all this does right now, we're applying pressure to the Federal Reserve. This entity, the average person, the average American walking down the street has no idea what the Federal Reserve is. No idea. I mean, if you go up to the average person, you offer them a $20 bill or one of these, they're going to take the $20 bill, even though this is worth twice as much. You ask the same folks, what's the Federal Reserve? They have no idea. They have absolutely zero clue about the private banking cartel that controls our monetary policy. And I see some folks, I've been bringing up the Fed recently, and Trump looking to fire, and people think that I want to play politics. No, I want to abolish the Federal Reserve. The entity should cease to exist immediately per the Constitution. Don't come around here trying to play politics with me. This is not left, right, up, or down. It's not constitutional. I'm not here to play politics with any of you guys. Okay? And fraud is fraud. And they got her dead to rights. 100%. And so sit back, enjoy the show, and understand that we've perfectly positioned ourselves in this new financial system, the answer to all these problems, right? This fraud, the miscalculations. Now they're going to bring the data on chain, right? That was the big one that came out today. We're perfectly positioned for not only, seeing all that value come, but I believe that we actually are the answer to the debt, currency, and liquidity crisis, and bringing a transparent financial system, a level playing field for all. Not one where Fed governors get to run around and claim 2 different properties are their main residence, claim one property is a second home, even though it's a rental. This is coming from Fed governors. I mean, it's illegal for anybody to do, but especially from an entity that's supposed to be representing, right? Even though it's not federal and there are no reserves. Once again, President Trump, it had to be this way. He has to expose it for the masses that are too distracted watching whatever, what are the Kardashians up to? These are the masses that need to be woken up to the private banking cartel slowly. You got to slow drip them. If you just rug pull it completely, then everybody says, oh, the big bad orange man's blowing everything up. And Trump could have done a full demolition on this thing a while ago. This is a strategic demolition, in my opinion. Now, as I mentioned, the U.S. Commerce Department has published Q2 GDP data on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Tron, Stellar, Avalanche, Arbitron, Polygon, and Optimism with distribution via Pyth and Chainlink. Now, many people concerned. Zach, why did they leave out XRP? Is this something that we should be worried about? Well, I'm not going to take the time to show you every single chart, but I'm here to tell you that there's only about 2 coins out of that list that are actually up today, and it's not by much. It had no impact on the price of any of those tokens. This is data being put on chain. Anybody could do it. In fact, one of our validators on the XRP ledger did the same exact thing. He posted the Q2 GDP data on the XRP ledger just to show you anybody could do it. It is not a big deal. It does not bring value on chain. It does not drive demand for the native asset. I'll show you the charts right here. Here's one of the few coins that actually went up today. Up about 6% today, Polygon Matic. I guess previously it was Matic. Now it's just POL is the ticker. Solana, up 5%, 6%. That was it. I went through the rest of the list. Tron, Chainlink, Stellar. All these other coins were down. Avalanche, down. Ethereum, down. Bitcoin, down. We didn't miss out on anything. Now, are we working with the government? Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I think that Ripple's relationship with the Treasury and our government's quite a bit more important than just posting Q2 GDP data on the chain, which drives no value to the network other than speculators now say, oh, government chose Polygon. Let me go hit the buy button. And it pops up the ticker by 5%. And I was laughing because somebody commented on my video earlier and they said, I don't know, man. XRP is just not moving. It's just not moving lately, but I'm making a killing on Solana and Chainlink. And I read the comment. And I said, did I miss something? I went and checked the charts on Solana and Chainlink, and I see that Solana's up like 6%, right? I mean, recently, if you go look at the move here, I mean, where do you want to measure from? It's up, 16% off the most recent lows here on the 26th, a couple days ago, right? So it's up 18% in a couple days. We go back to this most recent low at the beginning of August. It's up 37%. Okay, let's go to the low of June. You're up 71%. So if you're in a short-term trade over the past couple days, cool. But nobody is making a killing on Solana and Chainlink right now unless you bought this thing sub $1. Or unless you bought Solana under, 10 or even like $50. Nobody's making a killing on these assets right now. Don't play yourself. Now, I know that you're frustrated with XRP. I know that you want to see XRP move. Well, the breakout is near, as I titled this episode. And so let's get ourselves here. Once again, Solana does check off the boxes of ETF going live in October, more crypto treasury companies that are going to put Solana on their balance sheet, checking off those boxes. That's fantastic. The big one that we need to wait and see if this box gets checked off is institutional adoption at scale. Like I said, you have more and more crypto treasury companies coming out. Sharps Technology is the most recent one to raise $400 million private placement to launch a Solana treasury strategy, planning to buy Solana in the open market. Total proceeds could reach $1 billion if all warrants are exercised, making it one of the largest Solana treasury firms. I'm going to be on record once again, just so we're really clear about this. It's not going to be Tether that blows up and pops this bubble. I used to think that. Now we have new information, which is the Genius Act, and it allows 3 years for stablecoin issuers like Tether to come into compliance. So, and Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce, his firm, Cantor Fitzgerald, is the custodian for Tether. So there's some deals going on. There's a free pass that's now being given to Tether, 3 years grace period. Tether's not going to pop the bubble. Okay, that was my analysis. That was my speculation, like many of you guys as well too. That's no longer the case. But what pops the bubble this time around? Crypto treasury companies, and I'm certain of it. Yeah. And what I see happening right now is VCs that already got in on Solana, and not just VCs, but bag holders. And these are big institutional VC bag holders of Ethereum, of Solana, and of some of these other assets. What they're doing right now is the same thing that Michael Saylor's doing. Same thing that Tom Lee's doing with Ethereum. They're trying to drive a supply shock. I mean, I've talked with people who have plans to launch additional treasury companies as well too. And, you know, the conversation is about literally driving a supply shock through these crypto treasury companies amongst everything else, ETFs. And so these are the most important boxes on my checklist right now. ETFs going live, crypto treasuries, both of those two, they can bring in a supply shock very quickly. And then the final one is broader institutional adoption at scale. And you're starting to see that roll out. That's still a box that's unchecked for Solana, but I got to give credit where credit's due. And I still think that Solana is about to go on a nice run. I've been on record here now recently saying that Solana could double up. It just passed back above 200. You could see Solana run up to $400 or $500 this bull run. That's fine. And once again, it still has a long ways to go before it catches up to XRP's performance and some of our other utility assets this bull run too. But we're rooting for it. And, you know, Tom Lee, Michael Saylor and Strategy, all these different entities, the bet that they're making is that they can drive such a supply shock on these assets that they'll be able to cover their butt on all of the debt, bonds, and all the financial instruments that they're selling off to go fund this, right? The private placement deal for $400 million that this company's doing. Michael Saylor raising all sorts of money, doing bonds, etc. The hope, their plan, is that they will drive such a supply shock on these assets, and it's going to spike them in price, and they'll be able to avoid a bear market. They'll be able to avoid their liquidation levels. But in my opinion, without institutional adoption at scale, if you don't check off that last box, you're definitely not going to see a super cycle, and you are definitely going to see a pullback, and you very well could actually go through, you know, a version of a bear market. Maybe not as deep and as bad as previous ones, but you're still going to get hit. Because if you don't have institutions using this at scale, right, eventually that money taps out. Continuing on. A lot going on in this call right here. Neatsbucks gave us a summary here of a call that took place with Token Relations. And they got Jack McDonald, Cassie Craddock, and Jazzy Cooper, all from Ripple, with Jacqueline from Token Relations. And they drop a Ripple and XRP Ledger Q3 update. This is a great summary right here from Neatsbucks. The main takeaway is that Ripple is the leading partner for banks and financial institutions to work with for compliant institutional DeFi at scale. Once again, back to my checklist. We know XRP ETFs are going live in October. We know that there's already a dozen crypto treasury companies that are putting XRP on their balance sheet. And we already know, based off of 300, 400 plus institutional partners that Ripple has amassed, even during the lawsuit, that Ripple has institutional adoption, real adoption of the token. Not just proof of concept, not just we're thinking about it, not just a fireside chat, not just, hey, how you doing? Let me pat you on the back. I pat you on the back. We pump up each other's projects, take money and run. No, real institutional adoption. Real partnerships that use the token, that are building on the network. I mean, for crying out loud, we just got the most recent one that wasn't even a Ripple partner. A public company out of China that's going to use the XRP Ledger for supply chain logistics. This is a use case that nobody ever thought would come to the XRP Ledger, let alone from a public company out of China. This comes from a combination of a full suite of products from XRP, custody, payments, stablecoins, prime brokerage, and a suite of best-in-class regulatory licenses and simple strategic education from being an expert since 2012. We have all of the products and will teach you how to do whatever you want in a compliant way at scale. As I've been saying, they have been holding the hand of the traditional institutions going back to 2012. And they've been working on the Ripple ledger going back since 2004 with Ryan Fugger. David Schwartz has been patenting DLT technology since 1988. This is a plan decades in the making. Institutions and governments were right alongside them the whole entire time. The other key point is for this grand institutional DeFi vision to grow, XRP Ledger needs new features. Many are in the works, allowing XRP Ledger to offer the best of both worlds for permissionless and permission dexes. This permission dex is going to be a big one, guys, because you can't have institutions and banks coming to use the dex on the XRP Ledger. They can't be participating in a liquidity pool where a terrorist could be on the other side of the transaction. So they have to participate in what are permission dexes, where basically all of the participants know that that you have the credentials that you're actually supposed to be there. For example, if the Swift network wanted to create a permission dex on the XRP Ledger for their 11,000 member banks, this is how they would do it. And this is one of the amendments that's in the process of getting approval right now, along with a few other ones. Right? We got the DID, the digital identifier, credentials, permission dex. These are the ones that allow these institutions to use our ledger in a compliant way. The XRP Ledger is the foundation for everything Ripple builds and does. XRP Ledger is the leading choice for institutional DeFi. And I got to make this point again. I got to make it very clear. I'm seeing a lot of great ecosystems out there. The Proton guys, very adamant that they got a great ecosystem. Cool, and it sounds like it's working out great. It's all retail money. There's no institutions using the DeFi from Proton. And I'm not to pick on Proton, it's just an easy example for me to share with you guys. But look across the board. There's all these other, Aave and others. But are they getting institutions to use this DeFi? No, they're getting retail. Now, retail can bring billions, and you see on Solana, retail can trade billions in meme coins, for crying out loud. So retail can bring some money. Retail can bring billions, but institutions, well, that's who brings trillions, tens of trillions, and that 100 trillion transfer of wealth that we talked about in the earlier update today. Now, Ripple wants to expand XRP Ledger to on-chain repos and on-chain development, delivery versus payment. Ripple is building ready-made solutions for institutions that 10x the solution to their problem. XRP isn't going anywhere. It's embedded in the XRP Ledger from gas to requirement to open an account to auto bridging on the native DEX. And so RLUSD does not replace XRP. No stablecoin replaces XRP, right? On the custody side, clients want to be able to hold XRP. On the payment side, Ripple has 90 global corridors, and whether a client leverages XRP or RLUSD depends on the currencies involved, and it depends on the preference of the client. Some want to use XRP. Some want the stability of a stablecoin. We are providing both. Ripple products have the flexibility to make customers happy on the last mile payment. Ripple believes becoming a national trust bank will really incentivize new clients overseas who deal with various regulators, i.e. legitimacy. Right, that's right. And we're looking for that national trust bank charter to be approved by the OCC sometime maybe October, November, by the end of the year. We'll be able to check that box off as well. On RLUSD, Tether is the largest and retail prefers it, but as institutions pour in looking for stablecoins, RLUSD is licensed in New York State, the gold standard, New York Department of Financial Services, and Ripple has a fiduciary responsibility that comes with their license, which they feel institutions will prefer. It's a night and day difference between the operation being ran by Tether and the operation and the standard being set by Ripple. Big difference. On-chain, FX, access to liquidity, etc. are all exciting, but institutions won't use an unregulated DEX. Permission domains and permission DEX means compliant regulated DEX trading on the XRP ledger for the first time. While other chains have tried this, there usually is no liquidity. Uh-oh. The proposed XRP ledger design works with permissioned and permissionless DEX, so liquidity exists in both sides, up for a vote soon. I'm really interested to see how this works, all together. That's a very fascinating point. The proposed XRP ledger designs work with permission and permissionless DEX, so liquidity exists in both sides. That's a very interesting setup. Credit origination protocol, on-chain loans where collateral sits with an off-chain custodian. That's right. Lending, the lending amendment is on the way. That's going to be a big one. You want to be your own bank? We got you covered. Programmable escrows, adding a layer of programmability, making them smart to work for trade finance. And so right now you can escrow XRP, but you can't escrow other tokens. And so that's the new unlock there, is being able to escrow, tokens, and think of RWAs that you want to put in an escrow on chain. Yeah, that's being unlocked right now. Ripple has an acute focus on serving institutions. That's going to pay off well. Ripple Suite is highly compliant, purpose-built for institutions. Ripple wants to find a way to use zero knowledge on XRP Ledger for private transactions. Prime brokers are specifically not looking to expose data of clients, so improving privacy on the XRP Ledger is huge. And obviously, Ripple gets to do that within the prime brokerage firm that they purchased this year, Hidden Road, which does $3 trillion in transactions, $3 trillion worth of transactions on a yearly basis, prime brokerage. Ripple has a great reputation as a trusted provider of digital asset services since 2012. They are a leader in best-in-class licenses. They have the end-to-end product suite for everything an institution could want to do. Regulatory tailwinds means the water is safe to come in, as the infrastructure is more robust and a stablecoin is more customer-friendly with less risk. Therefore, the Ripple offering is more compelling than ever. Banks and financial institutions are looking for a partner. Starting from scratch is hard, and having a partner who knows how to do it in a compliant manner is so important. No one else in crypto has the tech stack and the expertise to this level. Ripple is the leader in knowing how to go from A to Z in crypto at scale. Remember when David Schwartz said that they could help a central bank launch a CBDC in one day? That was years ago. That was years ago that Ripple had the ability to help a central bank do a CBDC in one day. Now, are we a fan and cheering and hooting and hollering for CBDCs? No, we're against CBDCs. But now you got stablecoins, which are basically the same thing, right? Maybe not as programmable. Hopefully the United States will, implement a few things that allow us to keep respecting privacy in our Bill of Rights so that we don't go into the draconian CBDC world that some folks worry about. But when you look at this, we're already using the mark of the beast in cash form and digital form today without stablecoins, without CBDCs. So if you want to get away from the mark of beast, well, you're going to need some God's money. You're going to need some other things to barter with. Okay? But in the meantime, if you need help, Ripple's there. Ripple will lead institutional DeFi on the XRP Ledger, and the XRP Ledger will keep expanding with new features to support this compliantly. Basically, every sophisticated financial use case will be modernized on the XRP Ledger for the world's biggest players to adopt. And yet, some people think now's the time to hit the sell button on XRP. Blows me away. I cannot wrap my mind around it. Other than you're getting bad information, you're getting disinformation, you are getting distracted, right? Or I can't knock it for folks that are having financial stress and they need to sell their XRP. I get it. That I'm not talking about those people. That's real life, and we've been warning about Main Street being in a recession since 2022, inflation not going away, and our number one thing to do before you go pick your next meme coin was to get your income up on my recession to-do list that I put out in 2022, and I've been speaking about that ever since. But the point being, the breakout is near for XRP in so many different ways. When you look at the technicals on the chart, when you look at the DeFi for retail and for institutions, when you look at the stablecoin growth of ROUSD amongst other stablecoins, we just reported in the update earlier today that Braza Bank, the big one out of Brazil, they tokenized the Brazilian real on the XRP Ledger, and in Q3, they've moved over $1 billion in volume. Right? So we went from Ripple payments as a whole was doing a few billion on a yearly basis to now one of Ripple's partners is doing $1 billion of transactions in 1 quarter. And that's just Brazilian real. That's not RLUSD. That's not broader XRP liquidity at a whole. And, I forget the name of it was head of global partnerships or something at Ripple that put out that tweet about the Brazilian real doing $1 billion in volume in Q3. He also noted that there's a European, a euro-dominated stablecoin that's basically about to cross that same threshold as well, too. So we're flipping switches. People don't see it yet. They don't get it because they're focused on short-term price action. They're looking at the 5-minute chart, tweaking out on the candles. Why? No need to unless you're day trading. And what happens next is many people are going to get caught off guard underestimating the move that still is coming for XRP, right? People thinking that they're too late. I've missed it. And I also think that they're underestimating some of these other utility coins that we hold that will follow XRP so closely. Are these tokens getting as much adoption? Are they getting ETFs? Are they getting crypto treasuries? No. XLM has no ETF filings live. Has no crypto treasury companies besides Stellar. Does it have institutional adoption at scale? We can start to check that one. I mean, you got some. We can start to check it off. But it doesn't have ETF. It doesn't have crypto treasury, but it's still going to pump. And that's the opportunity for our community right now. Now, continuing on this chart, let's get into the technicals. Mr. Zoom on X here says, I guess that's it for XRP. This is the end, guys. But if you look closely, he has that chart inverse, flipped upside down. And sometimes it's nice to do this because you remove the bias. You flip that chart upside down, you take a look at the pattern. You say, okay, this thing's getting ready to break out to the downside. And he has us going up here to new all-time highs. Over to Cassie Trades. XRP is continuing to hold its consolidation pattern and a breakout is imminent. Price action is tightening right to the apex and it doesn't have much time left before a major breakout. It recently tested the bottom trend line of the consolidation and showed a strong reaction right to the top. This strengthens the consolidation pattern even further. Since no new lows were made, the count and macro extensions stay valid. The apex of this entire consolidation is the 382 support at 299. A strong breakout through 308 and a backtest of that level of support would confirm bullish continuation. Continued coiling at these levels only increases breakout probability. RSI on the 4-hour is also building a strong bullish trend, supporting the idea that consolidation is still strong. The market is essentially compressing energy here, and a breakout looks increasingly near. And this is a shout out to Cassie Trades. This is where I got the inspiration for tonight's title, XRP Breakout Near. I thought that was fitting. Right there on the technicals, on the fundamentals, on institutional adoption, on the ETF floodgates, on the crypto treasury floodgates. It's all here. This is happening now. James Seifert, he's the Bloomberg ETF expert. Here is a list of all the filings and or applications I'm tracking for crypto ETPs here in the United States. There are 92 line items in this spreadsheet. You will most certainly have to squint and zoom to see, but it's the best that I can do here. I don't know how close. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see that. Let me back out of that. But real quick, I read this off in the update earlier today. You have all these XRP ETFs. There's like 7 of them right here in his list, just spot XRP ETFs. And all of the deadlines go from 10/18 down to 11/14. So from October 18th to 11/14, you have 7 XRP ETF final deadlines. And it's my opinion, my speculation, that by the time Paul Atkins goes to DC FinTech Week, October 14th or 15th through the 17th or something like that, by that time, we're going to have the ETFs live for Solana and XRP. Now, it would only be fair if they launched the Solana and XRP ETF same day, but maybe they want to kick XRP down one more time, and maybe they'll give Solana ETFs like a 1 week head start. That would be the final low blow and way for them to suppress XRP before we finally have a level playing field. And now we're starting to get enough data where we can, with more conviction, we can suggest and speculate that XRP will have the best performing ETFs from an inflow standpoint, better than Ethereum and better than Bitcoin. Right? See, before I was in the camp and, our speculation was saying, we're going to do better than the Ethereum ETFs, but I don't know if we'll be able to do better than the Bitcoin ones. Well, based off the fact, and this is just one data point that leads us to that conviction, the fact that at the CME, XRP was the fastest ever contract to go above 1 billion in open interest, and it did it in about 3 months. This is a record broken at the CME by XRP. Now, the CME is a platform for trading futures of all sorts of different commodities. And XRP shattered this record. So this is one data point that leads me to suggest that, yeah, we're definitely going to outperform the Ethereum ETFs. And now we can start having a very serious conversation about us outperforming the Bitcoin ETFs as well. Okay, now let's go take a look here at the XRP price chart, and then let's open it up for comments and questions. Let's go rapid fire Q&A. I'm just going to show you real quick on the chart that everything's holding up very nicely for XRP. This consolidation's just fine. In fact, I just counted out how many days we closed above $3. We just did another 34 days, I believe is the tally that I had. It was over 30 days closed above $3. And this is on top of the 16 that we did back here. So now I need to change this to 40 days closed above $3. Because we just did like basically a whole month of XRP closing above $3. And yet some folks are getting bearish or getting scared, don't have enough patience, are distracted. And they're going to miss out on the move. Right, if I wanted to draw another box for you guys, it would be one that looks like this. It would be one that goes from September 7th to October 17th, and it would be a price range of $4 to $7. That would be my new purple box right there for you guys. Okay, so we missed this one by 9%, got pretty dang close. We were off by a few days, off by 9% on price action, but that purple box was pretty close. And we did get that run up leading into this date, right? And we played it pretty well. Got close. But, if you don't nail your target perfectly, then it's a sin, it's blasphemy, and I ask God and everybody else for forgiveness. People want to crucify me for missing that one. That's okay. We still made money. Now we look here forward, and it's just this opportunity right here. Now, this is a big price range, $4 to $7, a big window of opportunity from September 7th. Once again, this date right here, September 17th, that's the next Fed interest rate decision day. And then 1 month later, Friday, October 17th, the few days leading up to that is DC FinTech Week. On stage will be Paul Atkins, the chairman of the SEC, and Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple. And it is my honest speculation that the ETFs will go live that week or the week before. Sometime in October, but I believe it'll be before there. And so I have my green vertical line marking it off, the opportunity between now and then. And then once the ETFs go live, we enter a completely new reality for XRP and even for Solana too. If Solana gets an ETF, that's going to be a new reality for Solana as well. Now, before I get into rapid fire Q&A, if you guys haven't already, please make sure that you like this video. Help us out by sharing it out far and wide. You need to spread the word that the breakout is near. Now, I don't care. If you don't want to share my content, that's fine. But please do what you can to share the word far and wide on this opportunity, not just on XRP. I know that we focus on XRP a lot, but I told you guys, I mean, XLM is going to come for the party. HBAR is going to come along for the party. Even though no ETFs look like they're going to get passed for XLM or HBAR in October, they're still going to run. Absolutely. An incredible opportunity, and we need to help as many people as possible see it before it comes and goes. And then we go to price levels and we set higher floor prices where we never come back down to these attractive levels where you can really pick up a generational wealth bag, a life-changing bag. For most people, it just won't be possible. To acquire 1,000 XRP, the average person won't be able to. To acquire 10,000 XRP now, most people can't. See, understand how much this reality has already changed. Just with this first snowball. This first snowball took us into a new reality, XRP above $3, holding above $3, to where the average person can't even pick up 1,000 XRP. The average person does not have $3,000 laying around. That's the state of our economy. On the flip side, I'm having conversations on a daily basis with people that want to roll over their 401k, and we're talking about tens of thousands minimum. Like, these are people that have 6 figures and 7 figures in their 401k. And they're begging and pleading with their financial advisor to get permission to allocate 5-10% of their portfolio to crypto. And I said, you watch, your advisor's going to flip. As soon as he has an ETF, oh, Wall Street brought me this new ETF, a nice packaged up XRP ETF for you. Oh yes, now it's safe to invest in crypto. Let me take care of that for you. Versus where we've been at up until now, where they said, oh, it's too risky. Okay, you want to pull some out to invest in crypto? Okay, maybe start with just 1%. Now they're having to up that to 5%, 10% allocation. But the most respected financial advisors in the world, Rick Edelman, 10 to 40%. Those who saw the opportunity and were willing to take risk, myself, many of you, we went in 90%. I know we're crazy, but boy, did it pay off. Let's go rapid fire Q&A. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. Let's help us out. Thank you very much. Super chats to get started. Where are we at? We got Dennis here. How are we doing, Dennis? Zach just moved XRP to Caleb and Brown. Do major bank freeze money coming in from Caleb and Brown? No, you shouldn't have. Most of the banks and the problems that they've been giving you guys, most of that has passed. The banks have really opened up to crypto. I know that this had been a problem for most folks in the past. I haven't had any issues with Caleb and Brown, but to be honest, I haven't put any money on Caleb and Brown. I've only been sending XRP there. So I haven't had any issues putting money on Caleb and Brown. I should say I haven't put any money on Caleb and Brown, but I haven't had any problems taking money out of Caleb and Brown. Every time I've gone to withdraw from Caleb and Brown, it's in my bank account the next day. The only time that I didn't get it in my bank account within 24 hours was on a holiday weekend. I requested the withdrawal on like a Saturday, and it didn't come through till like Monday. So that's just the banks, right? But every other time on Caleb and Brown, I've cashed out to my bank in less than 24 hours. No fee, no limit. Okay. Yep. So no issues there. Steve, on ETF approval news, HODL all instead of taking some profit. Rotation factor equals faster, more inflows than BTC Ethereum. So smaller window to buy back lower. Well, Steve, I've been very clear about how I think this plays out. It's similar to Bitcoin and Ethereum, where they ran up leading into the ETFs going live, and then it was a buy the rumor, sell the news. So yeah, you're going to have a short window where it does pull back, but it's not one that I'm probably going to trade really all that much. The thing is, when XRP goes to some of the targets that I have set, I'm hitting the sell button. Whether the ETFs have gone live, whether there's more crypto treasure, no matter what happens. I mean, granted, there are some things. If Trump came out and said that we're going to back everything on the XRP ledger, maybe I wouldn't sell any of my XRP at all. Even my trading bag XRP, maybe I'd hold on to that. But for right now, the time being, if we hit my targets, I am going to sell it. But, you know, I'm going to be careful watching that move. I'm not going to try to sell off a bag and buy back in. The bag that I'm selling off of XRP is a bag that I'm cashing out, right? This is capital rotation for me out of crypto completely. Okay. That's just me. That's just me. If you're a trader, go ahead. You can try to play it, but I don't think that it's one that most folks are going to want to try to play with. And based off the ETFs, the crypto treasuries, and institutional adoption, I think that XRP has the opportunity to actually see a super cycle. And I'm defining a super cycle. I know that that term gets just thrown around a lot. So let me define what I mean by a super cycle for XRP and or any other asset. It would be XRP topping out at a quote unquote cycle top in October, November, December, but then going up to a new all-time high in 2026 based off of all of the inflows from the ETFs. So to answer your question, yes, I do think that you're going to have a much higher floor price established for XRP based off of not just the ETF, but all of those catalysts. Okay. Let's see what CJ had to say here. You said to send new potential makers. Curious on your thoughts on Black Hole, ticker Black. It's a new DEX, seeming like a potential opportunity. I never heard of that project. That must be new. Let me go to CoinMarketCap. What's the ticker? Black Hole Protocol? Very small. I'm not very excited about new tickers. I'm not excited about new layer ones. If it's a new meme coin, then that's a different story. But new layer ones, I'm not very bullish on right now. So is that it? Black Hole? Yeah, it looks like that's it. Okay. Yeah, I think that I found it. This is a very small project. So 1 month ago, it went up to $1.54. That's the new all-time high. Let's go to the all-time chart. So it launched in July. Yeah, I'm not excited about any new tokens at this stage in the cycle. Not listed on any tier 1 exchanges. I don't even know where you could get this thing. I've never even heard of these dexes. The Pharaoh Exchange. I guess it's its own DEX, right? Yeah, Black Hole is a next generation DEX built on Avalanche C chain. Yeah, no, that's no. I mean, get in and get out. You know, take your money and run. Treat it like a meme coin play if you want to. That's not something I would get excited about at this stage in the cycle. In fact, in my deep dive and when I share my exit targets for Crow, I'm going to show you what happens when you invest in projects that launch during the middle of bull runs. Because that's what happened with Crow, CRO. It went live in 2021, ran up to this new all-time high, and then it went into price discovery in the wrong way, meaning it went to all-time lows, which presented a great buying opportunity, right, if you believed in it then. But if you bought Crow as it went live, you were caught holding that bag for a very long time. I'll just show you real quick what I mean by that. Here's Crow. I guess it actually did launch in 2019. Okay, so I take back my comments, but once again, this thing ran up to new all-time highs, and then it went into price discovery in the wrong way, right? I mean, it barely stayed above the levels that it went to here. So I guess Crow didn't actually launch in the middle of the bull run, but be careful. I'm worried about tickers like SWE. I'm worried about tickers like Ondo. Just because they're so new, they launch in the middle of a bull run, but then they have token unlocks for years to come, right? And without without ETFs, without treasury companies, and without institutional adoption. Now, Ondo has institutional adoption, sure. Has no ETFs, I don't think. Is there any Ondo ETFs? One, 21 shares. 21 shares wants to do an Ondo ETF, so you have one. But it's not on the futures market, so that ETF's not going to go live in October. Like HBAR. HBAR has 3 ETF filings, but it has no futures at the CME or big regulated derivatives exchange. So I don't think that HBAR will go live with their ETFs. They won't be going live in October, I don't think. But I don't think that will be a hindrance to it pumping. All right, you guys keep it respectful in the chat. You guys are crazy. I'm reading your guys' comments, and you're absolutely reckless and out of control. Rein it back in now, okay? Goodness gracious. Let me take a sip of my adult beverage. What am I going to do with you guys? Cheers, everybody. What platform do I use to trade XRP memes? I have First Ledger linked up in the description of the video. That's a great place to get started. I use XMagnetic, I use XP Market, and I also use First Ledger. What do you think about Zach XBT's comment on XRP? It's just irrelevant. It means nothing. It just brings more attention to XRP. All of these haters, I mean, first it was the Bitcoin Maxis, then the Link Marines, and now it's Zach XBT. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, right? At the same time, well, that viral video going around of the, I want to be careful with my words here. I'm not even going to talk about it. It doesn't matter. It's all attention for XRP. And the truth will set you free. They can only hold back the truth about XRP for so long. And they can throw shade. They can try to FUD. It only brings it to the forefront of the conversation, and then the truth comes out. So Zach XBT, he can put out whatever the hell he wants. It just doesn't matter. It's ironic because a guy that has helped so many people, you know, going after scammers, helping people get back crypto, yet he leads his massive audience away from one of the best opportunities in crypto. It's pretty ironic. Right, the white hat hacker going out and saving us is also the same guy that's going to mislead people from going to XRP. It's pretty ironic. And once again, just like this guy says in the chat, Black Gold, I'll listen to Brad Garlinghouse over some random on X. I mean, the fact that you have the community liaison from Chainlink who's joined in this attack against XRP. It's like, imagine being invested in a company, in a project, in an ecosystem, and one of the team members is allocating time to fudding out another project. You can pass me up with that opportunity every single day. I don't want to be in business. I don't want to invest. I don't want to work with. I don't want to be around. I don't want to talk to other people that have to spend so much of their time trying to FUD out somebody else, trying to be negative on somebody else. It's a deflection because they have a lack of true institutional adoption, an actual use case for the Link token. You can do oracles without the token if you wanted to. Obviously, the Link token incentivizes the Oracle providers, yada, yada, yada. Okay, cool. What did today's news do for all of these projects? Chainlink, Tron, etc. The candles were red. Putting the GDP of the United States on these chains helped the token print a red candle. So did we miss anything in XRP, in the XRP Ledger ecosystem? By not having the GDP on our ledger? No. Didn't miss a thing. And the other thing that happens is we get to tap into everybody. See, everybody's coming to us. I talk about these DeFi providers, these centralized providers, these exchanges, Gemini credit card, that's linked up in the description down below. They're coming to us. Flare coming to us. Chainlink coming to Ripple's partnered up with Chainlink, for crying out loud. And that's where Ripple showcases themselves once again as always being the adults in the room. They don't engage in any of the drama. They just build. Hey, Link Marines, what do you have to show? How can we work with you guys? Despite all the shade you're throwing. We'll tap into Chainlink for oracles. We'll tap into Flare for oracles. We can tap into other ones as well too. The biggest use case for crypto is payments. And this is why I feel so comfortable in my XRP investment, because that's what XRP is solving, right? It's providing liquidity. It's a neutral bridge currency. You can't replace it with the stable coin. You can't replace it with any other coin that comes from another counterparty or issuer. You just can't replace it. And it's actually needed for the use case. And the use case is the biggest by dollar value. Is tokenizing data on chain the biggest use case for crypto from a dollar standpoint? No. That's the difference. I saw the abs snuck up in here in the chat. Shout out Abs and good morning crypto. You know, and I had to go take a look for myself. All this, the GDP's on 7 different chains. I look across the board. The only ones that were up today were Solana and Polygon, and they were up 6%. And Solana from the election is still being far outperformed by XRP. It's not even close. Somebody said that Uphold froze your account. Yeah. So right now it's important, guys, to make sure you understand your limitations, your fees, all of your platforms that you're going to use. Now, if you're just going to hold your crypto through this bull run, you're not going to sell anything, then tune out what I'm going to say here. Doesn't matter to you. But if you are going to be trading, selling, and really everybody should know this, even if you're just buying and holding, because you want the best service provider when it comes to your buy side orders as well too. Right? Some of these exchanges are going to nail you on spread and slippage when you go to buy. Right? The market price of XRP is $3. They're going to charge you $3.03 plus hit you with the fee. Right? So you need to understand all of your platforms. Are your bank accounts linked? You got debit or credit cards linked? How much can you withdraw in a day? What's the fee for withdrawal? Are they going to hit you on spread and slippage? Do they allow you to place limit orders? If you can't place limit orders, you're going to be hitting the sell button with everybody else on that platform. You and a million other people are trying to hit the sell button at the same time. So you need to understand the limitations, the fees, and everything that goes into every one of these platforms that you're using, making sure that your accounts are linked up, because it's go time. This is crunch time. Right? This is like taking the field in the fourth quarter and not making sure that your shoes are tied. It's something so simple yet so overlooked. Because people just assume, well, I'll buy, I'm going to buy low, I'm going to sell high, and that's all that matters. Next thing you know, you're trying to pull cash out of one of these platforms and they won't let you. I even posted about PayPal was giving me some issues the other day. Now, I'd been moving quite a bit of money through there, but why the limits? See, once you go and you experience something like Caleb and Brown, where there's no limits, no fees, if I want to send in $1 million, I can. If I want to take out $1 million, I can. And it's not going to cost me a dime. Versus these other platforms, shoot, they charge you a fee to onboard your money. They charge you a fee for you to put money on their platform. And then another fee when you go to trade. And then they hide the spread and slippage. That's a hidden fee. And then you go to sell, they hit you with a fee. And then you go to pull out, they hit you with the limit. And then they hit you with a fee. If you're not aware of all this, you're gonna have some problems when it comes time to hit that final shot in the fourth quarter here. You're gonna have some problems. Yeah, you're not just gonna miss the shot. You're gonna airball. You're gonna airball. Shannon, how you doing? How's Emmett doing? Hope he's doing well. Good to see you. Atlantic Living, Zach, why do you think that you are one of the very few influencers, content creators that will speak positively about the American utility of ZBCN ISO 222 project, reading the white paper on payroll? My goodness. You know, it's interesting. Even I pointed out some of the red flags. I pointed out some of the things that I didn't like. But one thing that we saw coming was the motion, the momentum. And so it was a momentum trade. But I also noted that it was a project that I was going to keep my eyes on, because they have a nice utility, a niche market that's not being addressed by many other people. And I think that what really got me was when I looked into who's on their team and how they come from some of the biggest payroll software companies and biggest payroll providers in the world. I said, wait, how's this a scam if they're getting all these guys on board? You know, these are people that wouldn't be putting up their reputation to go join some little fake, crypto startup that's going to go after payroll when these guys built the biggest payroll solutions and companies in the world. They would not be going to play around with this little startup crypto project and bet their whole reputation on this if what they were building wasn't legit. And I've been pleasantly surprised with ZBCN just locking down more partners for their cards, locking down more people for their payroll solutions. I really like the monthly reports that they're putting out. They're buying back ZBCN. And then from a technical standpoint, I still think that it does a double top. I still think that you get another high coming in on ZBCN. So, yeah, I mean, I don't hold any right now, but it's a project that I'm still bullish on, and a project that I'm still watching very closely. Many people, I feel like they thought that they missed it, and so they're kind of avoiding it. They saw some of the red flags or concerns, and so they just stopped their research right there. On a lot of projects, I will stop my research about 1 minute in. I mean, some projects it's 10 seconds. But on some of these other projects, I mean, I spend hours going through. I was researching Crow yesterday. Spent a couple hours on Crow. I think that one's going to do a nice little run. I still don't have any exposure, but I think it'll run pretty nicely. Let me catch up here. We got some more super chats that came in. Really do appreciate your guys' support. Thank you so much. All right, let's see here what CA Human, California Human. I'm brand new. Can you recommend a platform or company to buy off of? Robinhood, Coinbase, etc. Help this old gray mare get rich. I appreciate that. Yeah, so my favorite platforms right now are Coinbase and Caleb and Brown. As I mentioned with Caleb and Brown, it's just a level of service that's unmatched. Nobody else does it better. And especially if you don't want to hold it on an exchange that's not bankruptcy remote, Caleb and Brown provides institutional grade custody for free and bankruptcy remote protection. Now, on Coinbase, they have more cryptos. If you pay for Coinbase Prime or Coinbase One, I always forget what it's called, but I pay the $30 a month on Coinbase. So my first $10,000 in trading, my fees are zero. So, that's pretty nice. But when it comes to cashing out or moving big bags, I prefer Caleb and Brown. And their level of service is unmatched, and nobody else in the world is providing free institutional grade custody. There's nobody else. Jack J, thank you for the 20 spot. Sol still has ETFs on the table and it's still lackluster. I sold all of it. Better decentralized over a few. Utility, baby. Yeah, Jack, I mean, I still think that Solana is going to do $400 to $600 this bull run. That's, kind of been my top level for it. I need to do an updated look at Solana, though, with the market cap, just so I can calculate for the new tokens that have come into circulation. I've strictly been looking at Solana's price chart. And the thing about looking at these cryptos in just their price chart is you're not accounting for all of the tokens that are in circulation. So you can look back and say, okay, Solana went to $300 a few years ago. Where's it going to go to now? Okay, and common sense or typical thinking might be, okay, it's going to go back up to its all-time high. Maybe it's going to double its previous all-time high. But wait, not so fast. You need to go look at the tokenomics and see how many more tokens are in supply. Right? If the project has even 10, 20, 50% more tokens now, well, it's going to be 10, 20, 50% more difficult for it to hit that new all-time high in dollar terms. And so that's where you look at market cap. That's the proper way to use market cap in your analysis, is it accounts for token inflation, right? Because you're taking the last traded price by the circulating supply. That's your market cap. And you can look back historically, and that gives you a little bit more data than just the price chart. The price chart just shows you the pairing with the dollar, but it doesn't have any inclusion of the tokenomics in that chart. So that's where we look at market cap. Not like these market cap bros that are so stuck up on, oh, XRP can't go to $100. That'd be a 5 trillion market cap, bro. And we say, yes, based off of our math, 100 to 500 billion of inflows would get us to that $100 XRP and a $5.9 trillion market cap based off of our market cap multiplier hard data that we've been observing. Simple math. No guns, just knife. Thank you for the 10 spot. Hello, Zach. Any insight into timelines when, if XRP will improve? TPS, thank you. Yeah, so I wouldn't worry about TPS. It has a lot of room to scale up with private ledgers, permission dexes, just other liquidity pools that can be built out. It can scale up tremendously. There's really no limitation to TPS when you tap the XRP ledger in with interledger protocol as well too. It can do trillions of transactions per second. And right now, Visa MasterCard, I think, is what it's like 2,000 on a regular basis, but they say that it can do up to 10 or 20,000 TPS. But on a regular basis, it's only doing a couple thousand. And the XRP ledger definitely has room to grow. Definitely. That's not something I worry about. But a lot of the amendments that are in the pipeline right now should be passed this year. That really open, and a lot of these amendments for the XRP ledger are not focused on increasing TPS, but they're focused on expanding our DeFi, which is going to be a great spot to be at if you hold big bags of XRP with all these DeFi providers coming to us and we just get to pick and choose who we want to generate yield from. It's a great place, great place to be at. So yeah, we'll keep you updated on any increase to TPS. It's not something that's on the radar, I don't think, of many. And the other thing that happens too, as more and more institutions delve into this, they'll be able to throw more money and infrastructure at the XRP ledger too. So that's something that I do think will improve over time, but it already has pretty good limitations as it stands right now. CJ, thank you for the 5 spot. What's the dichotomy with approving ETFs or waiting for Clarity Act first? What do you think true reason is for delay? The reason why the ETFs have taken so long is the SEC wants to see 6 months of futures trading. So we went live on the CME in, what was that, May? When did XRP futures go live on CME? It was May 19th. Yeah. I thought that I remembered that correctly. Yeah, it was May. So the 6-month timeline, let's just ask Google. 6 months from May 19th would be November 19th. Now, so what we're looking at is, 6 months would be November 19th. Yeah. But you also had some of the futures instruments were live before that. In April, on April 6th, that's when 2Creum went live with the 2X, the 2X long XRP ETF. So we did have additional ETFs that offered exposure to futures of XRP before the CME. So it's going to be interesting to see if they go off of that April or May. But either way, it looks like this October timeline is when they're going to be set to approve both Solana and XRP ETFs. Let me look up, when did Sol futures go live on the CME? They went live March 16th. Basically Monday, March 17th. Okay. Yeah, so Solana is quickly approaching that 6-month time frame. So maybe we do see Solana. That'll be their excuse for why they go live with the Solana ETFs before. I don't think that the Clarity Act is holding up anything. Not on the ETF front. Clarity Act's not holding up anything on the ETF front. It's just a matter of allowing the futures to be established. And for crying out loud, do we need to wait the 6 months when the XRP contract was the first to reach over $1 billion in open interest in 3 months? I don't think so. So we'll be watching that very closely. Anyone hear that Austin had a heart attack? Austin who? That's not good. I talked to a guy from Caleb and Brown. How do you know you're not sending your crypto to a scammer? I just couldn't do it. Well, you could be on the phone with them. You could be on the phone with them. You can, email them directly. I use the platform through the website. No problems. They post their deposit address with their destination tag. So for sure that you're sending your XRP to them. So yeah, there's multiple ways that you can confirm that. Yeah. Now let me go back here. Mac Daddy came in with a super chat. Zach, is DEG ever going to start moving? Thank you. Mac Daddy, that's a nice username. Yeah, I'm expecting DEG to move up. I think this next wave where XRP goes, all of these other utilities will follow. Yeah, so I'm expecting DEG. There's not much that's going to drive DEG outside of, just a broader alt season happening right now. There's no ETFs for DEG. There's no crypto treasury. Obviously they're working with the Department of Defense. And as more and more data needs to be verified, DEG is perfectly positioned to handle that. They definitely have some institutional adoption with Panasonic launching a Metagraph on their platform. They just launched their DEX, I believe, as well, too. So, DEG's cooking. I think that you are going to see a breakout when XRP goes. I think that it's closely correlated there. And retail's kind of scared right now. Retail's on the edge of their seat. Like, is this the end of the bull run? Do I want to allocate anymore? And I think that really we're kind of waiting for, that signal. And really the market makers will help juice it. And you're just going to see all of these coins rip. And I got targets on DEG up at 40 to 60 cents. Jer Bear, thank you. Appreciate that 10 spot. Thank you very much for the super chat. Everybody else, we got the community resources linked up in the description down below and available at my website, zachrector.com. I should give a quick update too on the merch. We ran out of the, where's my finger pointing there? We ran out of the black XRP logo hats. I updated you guys on Tuesday. We got our shipments in, so we're back in stock and we're getting caught up. I sent out a bunch of emails to people that had inquired about orders. If you have any questions about merch orders, just hit us up, merch@zachrector.com. We are adding additional customer support right now too, just to make sure that everybody gets taken care of. And we want to up the experience for everybody that's purchasing our XRP merch. So we've just added additional customer support. My apologies for any delays. The delay from the hat came from our supplier. They were supposed to get us those patches 1 week sooner. So they were a week delayed on getting us those patches. And it just so happened to be after we did an XRP giveaway, or not an XRP giveaway, but a giveaway. And we gave away over 50 of those hats. And for some of you guys too, we just sent out, if you bought a t-shirt and then you had a free hat, we just started sending the t-shirts and the sweatshirts and all that. And then we'll be sending another shipment with your hat. So we're just going to eat the cost on shipping, eat it on all that, and eventually you will get it, okay? And once again, any issues, hit us up, merch@zachrector.com. We did not anticipate you guys to show up like you did on the giveaway night. We said, hey, we'll include an XRP hat in your order, and you guys lit us up. So we appreciate your support, and we'll make sure that everybody's getting taken care of there. Okay. Taco Feelings came in here with another super chat. We do appreciate that. Let's take a look at it. I got a fat bag of dag and it's making my knees sag. Hey, when you think we go $7 full moon eclipse? Yeah, so Taco, I'm looking at my $4 to $5 target coming in by September 7th to 17th. I think the run up to the next Fed meeting, you got that full moon lunar eclipse on September 7th. I think that we're going to see some big energy coming in here at the beginning of September. September is going to have some big energy. Okay. And so $4 to $5 target first. You'll see XRP run up to probably 450, 60, 470. Hit a sell wall, pull back. And then I think that we'll be ready to hit that $7. Excuse me. We'll be ready to hit that $7 target in October. Okay. And, you know, I know some people like want to crucify me for changing targets, but it would just be stubborn and foolish if I kept my same targets when I have new information and, you know, we have to make adjustments, right? I'm not afraid to be wrong. You got to be willing to, you know, step up to the plate and swing that bat. We're not going to sit in the dugout and say, oh, you know, just watch the opportunity pass us by. You know, we're not going to be too scared to go up and swing that bat. Yeah, we're going to keep swinging. And if you guys haven't taken advantage of it yet, too, the Gemini credit card, I know mine should be coming in the mail here any day now. Shoot, it might have even came today. I need to go check the mail. I think I didn't check the mail yesterday either. So for all I know, my Gemini card could be sitting in my mailbox right now. And I'm excited. I'll show you guys how that works out. I've already heard back from folks in the comments, though, telling me that their rewards hit their account, meaning their XRP hits their account before their coffee's done. You know, you take it to the restaurant, you know, or take it to get a coffee. By the time you pull up to get your coffee, the rewards have already gone into your account. It's that quick. So basically, it's just instant. You spend money, you're earning XRP. And once again, I'll pull that up just for everybody that's curious. You get 4% back on gas, EV charging, transit, taxis, and rideshare, 3% on dining, 2% on groceries, and 1% on everything else. Now, the intro promo right now, you can get $200 in XRP after spending $3,000 in the first 90 days. Here's what I love: no annual fee. So my plan is I'm going to, you know, run this card up, not all the way, but you know, I'm just going to swipe it on regular stuff that I'm going to be spending my money on. pay it off every month. I'll have no annual fee, no foreign transaction fee. So if I take the wife up to Canada, take the family up to Canada for a family day, no foreign transaction fee up there. And we'll be getting our XRP back. MasterCard World Elite status. And also, if you use my referral code to sign up for the card, you get an extra $50 in crypto. That's linked up in the description down below. And the process took me 2 minutes. I never had downloaded the Gemini app. And so literally from hitting that first link, downloading the app, applying for the credit card, it literally took me 2 minutes. I did it in bed while I was drinking my coffee in the morning. I mean, it was nothing. Okay, so take a look at that. Obviously, be responsible. Don't go into debt. Don't go into bad debt. Be responsible. But no annual fee, no foreign transaction fee. I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay. We'll just spend a little bit of money, earn some free XRP, pay it off, boost the credit score, get XRP back. Sounds like a deal to me. And I already got it linked up in my Apple wallet. So on my phone. So I didn't even have to wait for the card. I could start spending using the card right now, but yeah. And I'd never been on Gemini before. So I've just now started to take a look at it. I don't plan on doing any trading over there right now, but I just plan on using the card and then earning my XRP back. Yeah. All right, folks, it has been an absolute pleasure. We went live for an hour and a half. I think that's a good place to call it here. We'll be back live tomorrow, Friday. Going to be a good one. And I have an interview scheduled on the Paul Barron podcast. So I'm going to be going on his show tomorrow morning. I know it's going to be pre-recorded, so I don't know if he'll be airing that tomorrow or this weekend. But keep your eyes peeled for that one. We'll be going on Paul Barron's show. Looking forward to it. But other than that, we'll be back tomorrow with additional updates, getting ready for our Saturday. Getting ready for our Saturday Discord weekly call. We do that every Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. And so if you want to get tapped in through there, that's Patreon to get access to Discord. You can find all of our community resources at zachrector.com. And then if you go to my website and you hit the shop tab, that's where we have all of the XRP family merch. And keep your eyes peeled. We got some new designs on the way. I'm working on some new dog tags with Tyler from the Ty Project. I'm working on some other designs too for our merch. And we're getting ready for a big rollout to finish off this year. So if you've been wanting to get some XRP merch for family for Christmas, we're going to have some fun stuff cooked up here for the Christmas season. So keep your eyes peeled for that one, okay? Thank you for stopping by. I will see all of you guys in the next one. Have a great evening, and we'll see you tomorrow, okay? God bless. Thank you.